Well, Steve, Missy Bevers was murdered nearly 9 months ago, and now what people are talking about is that surveillance video from a nearby gun store, and it shows a vehicle clearly out of place. This is the surveillance video from SWFA Outdoors near Creekside Church of Christ in Midlothian from April 18th, a couple of hours before Missy Bevers' murder. A silver Nissan
reads 3:50 in the morning. Inside a darkened church in Midlothian, Texas, something moves. A figure, dressed head to toe in black tactical gear, a helmet obscuring every feature, a vest across its chest stamped with a single word in white letters, police, walks slowly through the empty corridors. Unhurried, deliberate, a hammer swings at its side. It is not the police. It passes through room after room, smashing glass panels, prying open locked doors, pausing to peer into dark corners. It has been inside this building for more than 20 minutes. It knows no one is coming. It knows exactly how much time it has. At 4:16 in the morning, a pair of headlights sweeps across the parking lot. A pickup truck pulls in. A woman climbs out, grabs her fitness equipment, and walks through the front door of the church she has used dozens of times before. She has no reason to be afraid. She is early, she is prepared, and her class starts in 40 minutes. At 4:20, she appears on an interior camera, moving down the main hallway toward the room where she will set up. That is the last time any camera sees her alive. Somewhere in this building, in a corridor the cameras cannot reach, the figure in the tactical gear is waiting for her. The question that has haunted investigators, her family, and millions of people around the world for a decade is not what happened next. What haunts them is this: how did it know she was coming? This is the story of Terri, Missy Bevers, a fitness instructor, a mother of 3, a woman who drove to a church before sunrise on an April Monday in 2016 and never came home. It is also the story of one of the most watched, most analyzed, most discussed unsolved murder cases in American true crime history. A case that generated more than 3,000 tips, drew federal agencies from across the country, and still, 10 years later, has produced no arrest, no named suspect, and no answers. If you are watching this for the first time, subscribe and hit the bell. Every case on this channel is built from verified facts, court records, official press releases, and sourced investigative reporting. Nothing is speculation. Nothing is invented. When the record is silent, we say so. This is what the record shows. Terri Leanne Strickland was born on August 9, 1970, in Graham, Texas, a small city in the rolling plains of Young County, the kind of place where people know their neighbors and Friday nights belong to high school football. She grew up there, built herself there, and eventually carried that groundedness into the life she made as an adult. By the time she was known to nearly everyone simply as Missy, she had become a wife, a mother of 3 daughters, and a woman whose energy was difficult to contain in any single room. She married Brandon Bevers in 1998, and the couple settled in Red Oak, Texas, a quiet suburban community just east of Midlothian. They built their family there. Their 3 daughters, 15, 13, and 8 years old in the spring of 2016, were the center of everything. Before fitness became her profession, Missy worked in public education. She served as a substitute teacher in the Midlothian Independent School District, including work with special needs children during the 2006 to 2007 school year, and again in the spring of 2014. People who knew her from those years described the same person those who came later would recognize: someone who showed up fully, who gave what she had, who took the work seriously. Eventually, a pull toward health and wellness drew her in a new direction. She became a boot camp instructor for Camp Gladiator, a fitness organization that ran outdoor classes in parking lots and open spaces across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She had been instructing for approximately 1 year when she was killed. Camp Gladiator classes ran early, before the sun, before the workday, before most of the world was awake. Missy was accustomed to pre-dawn drives, to unlocking spaces and setting up equipment while the sky was still dark. It was ordinary. It was routine. On the evening of Sunday, April 17, 2016, there was a wrinkle in the routine. A severe thunderstorm was moving through Midlothian. Her class, normally held outside in the parking lot of the Creekside Church of Christ, would need to move indoors. She posted the change on her public social media that night, letting her students know where to find her in the morning. Around 9:30 that same evening, she spoke to her husband by phone. Brandon was in Biloxi, Mississippi, on his annual fishing trip. It was a normal conversation. She was preparing for sleep. She had an early morning ahead. She went to bed. She set her alarm. She had every reason to believe the next morning would be like every other morning. A dark drive, a quiet church, students arriving at 5, an hour of work that left people stronger than when they walked in. That was the last night of her life. The Creekside Church of Christ sits at 5401 East US Highway 287 in Midlothian, Texas, in Ellis County. On the morning of April 18, 2016, it was not a secure building. Its exterior surveillance cameras were entirely non-functional. The church had no monitored external alarm system. Whatever arrived in the parking lot before dawn that morning, however it arrived, whatever it drove, came and went, completely invisible to every lens pointed outward. The interior cameras were a different matter. At 3:50 a.m., motion-activated cameras inside the church captured the first image of the figure. It was already inside, already moving, already dressed in the full tactical ensemble it would wear for the next hour. Black helmet, dark gloves, heavy leg padding, and a tactical outer vest bearing the word "Police" in white block letters across both the front and the back. Law enforcement and Brandon Bevers would later study the footage carefully. What they noted was that the uniform, on close inspection, did not hold up. The jacket appeared to be made of an unusual, velour-like material. The pants resembled sweatpants more than tactical trousers. The outfit was not genuine police gear. It was a costume, assembled, investigators believe, to project authority and suppress a victim's instinct to flee or fight. The figure moved through the church methodically. In one hand, a hammer-type tool. In the other, at various points, a pry bar. It used both to smash interior glass panels and force open locked doors and display cases throughout the building. It opened rooms. It looked inside. It moved on. It spent more than 30 minutes doing this before Missy Bevers ever pulled into the parking lot. At 4:16 to 4:18 a.m., exterior and entry surveillance captured Missy's pickup truck arriving. She parked. She gathered her equipment. She walked in. At 4:20 a.m., an interior camera caught her moving down the main hallway, fitness gear in hand, heading toward the room where she would set up. She never reached it. Between 4:20 and 4:35 a.m., a window of no more than 15 minutes, Missy Bevers was killed. The encounter took place in a corridor outside the reach of every camera in the building. It left no image, no audio, no frame of footage that investigators could analyze. The Dallas County Medical Examiner determined that she died from multiple puncture wounds to her head and chest, inflicted by an unknown instrument. The injuries were documented in executed search warrants as consistent with the tools the suspect had been carrying throughout the building. Whether the actual murder weapon was recovered from the scene, law enforcement has never publicly confirmed. That detail has been formally designated as holdback evidence, protected to guard against false confessions and to preserve the integrity of any future interrogation. What investigators did confirm, there was no theft. Missy's purse was untouched. Her iPad was undisturbed. Her wedding ring remained on her hand. Her personal firearm, found inside her vehicle in the parking lot, had not been discharged. Nothing had been taken. Nothing had been disturbed, except Missy herself. At 4:35 a.m., the first Camp Gladiator student arrived at the church. At 5 a.m., 2 911 calls were placed. The callers reported finding an unresponsive woman inside the facility with severe physical trauma. By the time emergency services arrived, Missy Bevers was gone. The Midlothian Police Department assumed jurisdiction immediately. Within days, they had assembled a multi-agency investigative coalition that would grow to include the Texas Rangers, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Ellis County District Attorney's Office, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and, in a consultation that speaks to the scale of digital evidence involved, the New York Police Department. The ATF deployed a specialized bomb detection canine named Titan to sweep the church grounds for gun casings and gunshot residue. The NIPT was brought in to operate Stingray cell site simulator technology, mapping the cellular signals active in the vicinity of the church during the 4 a.m. window. Geofence warrants and broad cell tower data pulls produced enormous quantities of digital information. None of it has yet yielded a publicly confirmed suspect. The FBI coordinated with the Midlothian lead investigator on a weekly basis. One of the Bureau's earliest contributions was to formally address the question that the internet had already spent days arguing about. Was the suspect a man or a woman? The footage, to many viewers, suggested a female, something in the figure's movement, the way it carried itself through the corridors. Midlothian police had initially referred to the suspect in press releases using male pronouns. Shortly after, they formally retracted that characterization, issuing a public clarification that there was insufficient evidentiary basis to rule out a female perpetrator. To resolve the question scientifically, the FBI contracted Dr. Michael Nirenberg, a forensic podiatrist, to conduct a formal biomechanical analysis of the surveillance footage. Dr. Nirenberg created physical reconstructions, having a police officer walk both with and without similar heavy tactical gear to simulate the suspect's movement patterns. His conclusion was unambiguous. The weight, bulk, and asymmetrical distribution of the tactical equipment fundamentally corrupted the individual's natural gait, rendering any gender determination from the footage scientifically invalid. Nirenberg did note one physical characteristic, an out-toed rotation in the suspect's right foot, but he formally cautioned investigators not to treat it as a rare or identifying marker. It is a widespread anatomical variance. It narrows nothing. The investigation's digital layer ran deeper than the gait analysis. Search warrants executed on Missy's electronic devices and social media accounts revealed that she had received what investigators described as creepy and strange private messages through LinkedIn from an unknown male in the days before her death, alongside flirtatious messages exchanged with a separate person of interest. The identities connected to those communications have not been publicly disclosed. Perhaps the most striking forensic development came not from the church itself, but from a dry cleaner. 4 days after the murder, a blood-stained women's extra-large shirt was delivered to a Midlothian dry cleaner by Randy Bevers, Missy's father-in-law. The garment drew immediate investigative attention. Police seized it via search warrant and subjected it to rigorous forensic analysis. The results were definitive. No human blood was present. The staining was identified as canine DNA, the biological residue of a fight between two of the family's dogs, an English Mastiff named Yogi and a Chihuahua named Kilo. The Bevers family's explanation was corroborated by the science. If you have stayed with this case this long, if you are one of the people who has followed the investigation, submitted a tip, or shared the footage, subscribe if you have not already. Cases like this one live or die on the size of the audience watching. As for the church itself, investigators found no prior history of break-ins or security incidents at the Creekside Church of Christ before the murder. The building's vulnerability that morning, the dead exterior cameras, the absent alarm system, was not a pattern. It may have been an opportunity someone specifically identified. That question, whether the killer knew this church, knew its blind spots, knew which corridor Missy would walk down, is one law enforcement has never been able to definitively answer. Assistant Chief Kevin Johnson publicly acknowledged that there are, in the official investigative record, split opinions on the case whether the killer was familiar with the church. Some analysis points to the suspect's 30-minute wandering through random rooms as the behavior of someone unfamiliar with the premises. Other analysis points to the fact that the suspect ultimately waited in the precise blind spot where the fatal encounter occurred, a space outside every camera's reach, as evidence of calculated, specific foreknowledge. Both theories remain live. Neither has been closed. Early in the investigation, law enforcement acknowledged they had hit a wall in every direction, including with possible suspect DNA. Whatever biological material was collected from the scene was either too degraded for a CODIS match, insufficient for analysis, or the suspect had successfully avoided leaving usable genetic material. No forensic evidence has ever been publicly attributed to the killer. Before we go further, what you are about to hear is the moment investigators believed they might finally have something. Stay with it. The tips kept coming. More than 1,000 arrived in the first 30 days. By the 10-year mark, the Midlothian Police Department had received and processed over 3,000 unique leads from across the United States and from foreign countries, generated by surveillance footage that was viewed more than 100,000 times within the first 24 hours of its public release, and many millions of times since. A reward fund materialized quickly. Oak Farms Dairy posted the first $10,000. Suefe Outdoors, the business near which the suspect's vehicle may have been captured on a nearby camera, added another $10,000. In October 2016, 2 anonymous donors each contributed $15,000, bringing the total to $50,000. By 2021, The pooled reward had reached $150,000. It remains actively advertised on billboards throughout Ellis County. As of April 2026, the Midlothian Police Department maintains that the case is not cold. It is active. The investigative unit has been augmented by a retired federal agent and an experienced major Metroplex homicide detective. The department has begun deploying artificial intelligence tools to parse the accumulated decade of cell tower pings, vehicular records, and digital surveillance data that no human team could process at speed. More than 100 tips were formally reviewed and cross-referenced in the 2025 to 2026 investigative window alone. No arrest has been made. There is no name to give you here. 10 years after the murder of Missy Bevers, the Midlothian Police Department, the Texas Rangers, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation have never publicly identified a suspect. No person of interest has been formally named. Law enforcement has explicitly stated that they are not comfortable releasing names of past or present suspects, and that no individual is fully excluded from suspicion until an arrest closes the case. What exists, in place of a name, is a silhouette on a surveillance monitor. The figure entered the Creekside Church of Christ at 3:50 in the morning, more than 25 minutes before Missy arrived. It came prepared. It brought tools. It wore a disguise constructed to communicate authority and suppress resistance. It knew, or discovered, where the cameras couldn't see. It stayed in that building for the entire duration of its occupation, without triggering any external alert, without being observed by any passing motorist, without leaving behind any forensic trace that investigators have been able to publicly confirm. Brandon Bevers was investigated and formally cleared. His alibi, physically present in Biloxi, Mississippi, confirmed by travel receipts, airline records, a car rental receipt, and cellular forensics, was verified beyond dispute. He cooperated proactively with investigators, publicly acknowledging that law enforcement must work from the inner circle outward. Beyond that, the investigative record does establish several facts about what the killer did and did not do, even without establishing who the killer is. The killer arrived before the victim. The timing of the class change, relocated indoors due to the thunderstorm, announced publicly on social media the night before, raises a question investigators have never answered. Did the suspect monitor Missy's social media? Did the indoor relocation inform the plan? Or was the suspect already inside and waiting regardless of where the class was held? The killer brought specific tools. The hammer and pry bar were not improvised. They were carried into the building with intention. The killer left nothing behind that science has been able to identify. No fingerprints publicly attributed. No DNA publicly confirmed. No vehicle captured on any functional camera. The killer knew, or found, the one corridor in that church where no lens could reach, and then it walked out. In the decades since, no witness has come forward to name it. No tip among the more than 3,000 received has produced an arrest. The $150,000 reward has gone unclaimed. The suspect remains unidentified. There has been no trial. There has been no arrest that would make a trial possible. What the legal record contains, in the absence of criminal proceedings, is the architecture of a prosecution that has been built and is waiting. Search warrants executed, forensic analyses completed, digital evidence cataloged, tip databases processed and cross-referenced. The Ellis County District Attorney's Office has been formally embedded in the investigative coalition since the early days of the case. In Texas, there is no statute of limitations on murder. The case against whoever walked into that church on April 18, 2016, can be brought the day after an identification is made, whether that day comes in 2026 or 2036 or beyond. The legal window does not close. If you are watching this and you have a piece of information, something you saw that morning, a name you heard, a vehicle you remember, a conversation that never sat right, the Midlothian Police Department is still taking tips. The reward is $150,000. The case is active. Call. Subscribe if you have not. Share this video. The footage has been seen millions of times. The right person has not seen it yet, or the right person has not spoken yet. Either way, visibility is the only tool left that hasn't been exhausted. Brandon Bevers lost his wife before sunrise on a Monday morning and did not know it until hours later, hundreds of miles away in Mississippi. His 3 daughters, 15, 13, and 8, lost their mother in a church parking lot on a stormy April night. in the 45 minutes between a social media post about a schedule change and a 911 call. The community of Midlothian, Ellis County, and the broader Camp Gladiator network absorbed the shock in the way communities absorb the inexplicable, with vigils, with donations, with the construction of a reward fund that grew over years into something substantial enough to be advertised on highway billboards. And still, the questions that were present on the morning of April 18, 2016, remain present today. Who was the figure in the tactical gear? How did they get inside the church without triggering a single external alert, without being captured on any exterior camera, without being seen by anyone? Did they know Missy Bevers specifically? Did they follow her schedule? Did they see the social media post about the indoor class change? Or was the encounter something else entirely? Something random? Something that does not require a relationship between killer and victim to explain? Why was nothing stolen? The purse, the iPad, the wedding ring, all left behind. If this was not robbery, what was it? Was the suspect a man or a woman? A formal forensic analysis by a contracted FBI specialist determined that the footage cannot answer this question. It remains, scientifically, open. Was the murder weapon recovered? Law enforcement has never confirmed this. It remains designated as holdback evidence, the details of which exist only inside the investigative file. What did the LinkedIn messages say, and who sent them? What did the geofence data and the decade of cell tower pings reveal, if anything? These are not rhetorical questions posed for dramatic effect. They are the literal, documented open gaps in the investigative record. Questions that the Midlothian Police Department, the Texas Rangers, and the FBI have not been able to publicly resolve in 10 years of active investigation. As of April 2026, the 10-year anniversary of her death, no one has been charged. No one has been named. The person who entered that church before Missy did, who waited for her in the dark, who left without being identified. That person is, as far as the public record shows, still out there. Some cases break open in a year, some in a decade. Some require a technology that did not exist when the crime was committed, or a witness who was not ready to speak, or a coincidence that no investigator could have engineered. The Midlothian Police Department believes, officially, on the record, as of April 2026, that the murder of Missy Bevers will be solved. They have not stopped. They are not close to stopping. A reward of $150,000 waits for the person who provides the information that changes everything. An investigative unit equipped with artificial intelligence is working through a decade of accumulated data. Somewhere in 3,000 tips, in terabytes of cellular records, in the biomechanical analysis of a walk through a dark hallway, there may be a thread that, pulled at the right moment, unravels the whole thing. What is certain is what the record has always shown. Someone knew Missy Bevers would be in that building, or someone arrived and waited until someone came. Either way, in the 45 minutes between 3:50 and 4:35 in the morning on April 18, 2016, a 45-year-old woman from Graham, Texas, a mother of 3 daughters, a fitness instructor who relocated her class indoors because it was raining, walked into a church she trusted and encountered the last thing she ever saw. Her name was Missy Bevers. She deserves an answer. If this case stays with you, and it should, subscribe and leave a comment below. If you know something, contact the Midlothian Police Department directly. The tip line is still open. The case is still active. 10 years is too long.